Here is why Gilbert Arenas didn't get into UCLA. Gilbert Arenas seems like he would have been a shoo-in for the University of the California, whatever, UCLA. He was the shoo-in to get into UCLA. This is the school he wanted to go. But let's go deeper into why he did not get in. For those who just got here, it's your boy Carcino. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you like everything you hear, you can definitely donate to the page. Hit up my Cash App, which is Carcino's, the $ Karceno. Now, with that being said, let's go into this. Gilbert in high school was actually a very good basketball player. Talented scorer. He could shoot the basketball at a high school, even at a high school level, Gilbert could shoot. He can get his shot off, he can get the space he needs, and he could shoot basically in a crowd. From a high school standpoint, that's normally unusual. His shot wasn't something that you would really teach. It would look like it needed work, but it worked for him. He could get the shot off. He had enough athleticism back then where he was actually kind of fast. He could get to a spot and rather slash to the basket, he could stop and hit a short-range jump shot. So you had to respect his jump shot, which is very unusual for a high school student with that kind of athleticism. They normally like to slash. Gilbert could score points in a hurry, in like a blur, points that just come from nowhere. Now, in high school, Gil was what you would consider a recluse or introvert. He was very quiet, like he didn't know anybody, and people thought he was weird. High school students like, he's kind of weird though, because he just felt out of place. So he really didn't talk too much. He stayed quiet and wasn't the rambunctious Gilbert Arenas we know now. But here's where Gilbert's problems started to come in. UCLA scouts were watching Gilbert Arenas as his father and the coaches, were letting scouts know about players. Now, UCLA is the school he always wanted to go to, first choice school. And they told Gilbert, you need a second choice, you need to, no, UCLA. That's where I'm going to go. Gilbert was so hooked on UCLA, he never thought for a second he wouldn't get in. He was so hooked on UCLA, he had the posters, UCLA Bruins everywhere in his room. He's taking pictures. He's practicing on doing an interview for UCLA. I mean, everything was UCLA. He even found his way on the campus, shooting around, trying to talk to coaches. It was like, I'm telling you, he was Kyle from above the rim. He was very talented, but on the basketball court, everything would come out full circle. Now, during the game, they were blowing teams out. Gilbert, when the game is over, Gilbert is still trying to show up the other team. He's going one-on-one isolation, mixing in between his legs, getting the points and just running up points on when the game is really over. Going on a spree because he knows the scouts are there to see the players, mostly to see Gilbert. They had scouts from everywhere, not just UCLA. It's just a couple of scouts that was in there for college. And they were checking Gilbert out, and it's a lot of schools that wanted him that were smaller, like I think K-State, they were looking at him. It's a lot of colleges that were interested in Gilbert, probably helping their program. But we're going to get to these situations here. So as his dad, he kind of has a good rapport with some of the scouts and the coaches. So he's doing the majority of the conversations and all of these things with them. And it's like the coaches can't talk to the students or high school students who they're scouting at. They got that stuff got to go through the proper channels. Gilbert want to go up there and play the UCLA players, just show them what he could do and just pick up games. So he wants to go to the campus. And he's like, once they see me play, they know they're going to have to get me. Because I give it to those guys every time we play. I just give it to them. So he goes up to the campus, does well, everything, played well, pick up games and all this stuff. And on the court is where you see Gil's confidence come from. No place else but the court. Now, before Gilbert, they had a situation where UCLA was in the bidding, well, not a bidding, but hoping to get, Tracy McGrady. See, Tracy McGrady was coming out, and Tracy McGrady was the man, and they ended up taking Baron Davis, the Baron from, but the situation was quite different because Tracy McGrady was there, but a lot of people was like, look, this kid's going to the pro. Like, don't waste your time recruiting. But Tracy McGrady was the student that people were interested in because of his basketball ability. He could play either guard or forward. He was playing a positionless game. Similar to Gilbert's. Gilbert didn't get the recognition because he was, can you believe this, a quiet scorer. But he wasn't really as recognized as the majority of these guys who played. Now, T-Mac at the time was, like I told you, the man. But you look at what the team was looking for when, you got BD and you see them the pieces you need to build your team. Guys like Stevenson was out there. Then you have they were coming up because in case people don't know, they don't recruit you your senior year. It's very rare somebody, because most of these kids don't even make it. Like they're making decisions junior, sophomore year. It depends on how good they are. You got to get these kids committed early. Now, it's nothing to say that they can't change their commitment. But normally when you sign those papers, you're stuck to going to that school now. So plenty of people that got out of their letters of intent. But the scenarios changed for the University of Cal, whatever, not Cal University, but UCLA. They needs changed. Once they got Baron Davis, they were going to build around BD and get the pieces that they needed to, get around him. Gilbert Arenas would have been a perfect fit playing, with that organization. And I'm quite sure Gilbert felt that way too. Now, Gil is excited to go to UCLA, but it's a long shot. They just took Ray and they just took Jerron. Jerron to me was I wouldn't have taken Jerron. To me, Gilbert should have played at UCLA. Seriously, I think that's what they missed out on, but I understood why they didn't go with Gilbert. Now, as it came down to why they decided not to go with Gilbert Arenas, the UCLA staff was entirely um, they had different obligations. They wanted to get Carlos Boozer. That was their main choice to get on the team, was Booze. That was the big high school recruit they wanted. They was like, this is the guy that's going to make the splash. And then they had the other kid that was actually from there. They decided to go with the young kid that was out there, that was from, where the hell was he from? Can't even remember right now. I think he was from LA, but Capono, man, they was high on him. They wanted to make sure once he committed, that he was going to UCLA. That's what they wanted. Capono was going. They couldn't get Booze. They thought he was going to commit to UCLA, but he ended up going to Duke on a last minute pitch by Duke. He committed to going there, and that was that. But at that time, Gilbert had basically ended up going another route because his dad was told the reasons why they didn't choose Gilbert. He was told in ample time that Gilbert was raw talent. They believed, a couple of years of development, his game was a little immature, meaning that Gilbert was what they believed like to run the score up and embarrass opponents rather than win games. Plus, his academic career his grades wasn't so up to par to where, they would get him up there. He was about a 2.2 grade point average. And that's just like not going to cut it with collegiate athletic directors, So they was like, he needs to work on getting those grades up academically, and then we can start, good luck to him, but we just not going to take the chance with Gilbert Arenas. So that was the reason he didn't get in. They believed because Gilbert would try to embarrass the other team's players and try to run up the score and get as many points as he could. This ended up hurting him in the recruiting, as this was a red flag for them to say, I don't think we should get this kid right now. He doesn't really understand the concept of team ball yet. So that's why Gilbert Arenas didn't get into Arizona. Did I say Arizona? I meant UCLA. So he was like basically had a F them mentality. I don't need them anyway. And he committed to go to Arizona when they did offer him a deal. And they wanted him. They thought he would fit the program, give them the scoring at the position that they needed, and that was it. The scouts saw enough in Gilbert to say, well, he's really young because of Gilbert's birthday. He was the youngest in his class. Back in school, if your birthday fell within a certain period of time, you normally had to wait another year, because if you waited another year, then you'll basically be the oldest guy in the class. But when you in your January, I know because my birthday's in December, I went through the same process. They were talking about holding me back another year just to start school because of when my birthday hit. So Gilbert was like he probably graduated at 17 and was 16 at the time they were recruiting him. So this is a known phenomenon. So he was redshirted his first year. And then after that, that's when he had the breakout sophomore year in college. And then he's out. Once Gilbert got to, realize when he got to Arizona, Arizona had an accidental mistake. They had the Farragut, basketball team. This is the team that had Kevin Garnett and Ronnie Fields. They had Michael Wright. So when you start seeing that lineup, that high school lineup that would probably win a national championship had they played and went together to the same college, they would have dominated college. Michael Wright ended up going to Arizona. They chose Michael Wright and they saw what he provided on the court. Quiet kid, just like Gilbert. Gilbert was a quiet guy. Not a lot of mouth in high school, only on the basketball court. So when he got to college, it was like a whole new world. He was free to be Wild Gil. But when he got there, Rashard Lewis was who Arizona was trying to get. But Rashard Lewis was, being pursued by so many different scouts that they just gave up on trying to get Rashard Lewis and took the local guy, Richard Jefferson, which was a perfect fit for Arizona. So then you bring in Gilbert, Richard Jefferson. It was a perfect blend at the right time for that team. And this was, to me, one of the best times and the worst times for Gil, because this is when he began to break out of his I'm not quiet anymore. Now I'm going to talk. Gil decided to speak. And now that he started to speak, look out. It was all downhill from there. Yep. Now, what's next? Next, you're going to hear how Gilbert Arenas has violated NCAA regulations. Yep, and how easily it could happen. It's your boy Carcino. I'm out. Don't forget to subscribe to the page, hit the notification bell. Once again, thanks for everybody that super chatted. And if you want to donate and help out to the page and do all the wonderful things, my Cash App is Carcino, Carceno. And I'm out the door.